Welcome to In Memoriam, the final spotlight.
It feels incredibly heavy to be here today.
It really does. You know, usually when we do one of these deep dives, there's this sense of discovery.
Right.
But today, we're just grappling with news that broke this morning, and it just feels wrong.
It does.
It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and the world has lost James Van Der Beek. He was only 48 years old.
48, that number is just, it's jarring. It's so young.
It is.
And I think for a huge portion of our listeners, this isn't just celebrity news scrolling on a screen.
No.
This feels like losing a peer. If you grew up in the late 90s, James Van Der Beek wasn't just an actor. He was like part of the architecture of your adolescence.
He was the face on the wall. He was the voice of a certain kind of, feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He defined this very earnest, articulate teen angst that really shaped a whole generation. But what makes this so essential to talk about today is that he didn't just stay there.
Right. He didn't stay frozen as a 90s heartthrob.
Not at all.
And that's the thing that really struck me this morning. He wasn't a static figure. He was a guy who was constantly reinventing himself, and often with this incredible sense of humor and grace.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at the whole arc, the man behind the memes, the scripts, from the creeks of Massachusetts all the way to his ranch in Texas.
And that journey is so fascinating because it's not your typical Hollywood story. It isn't a straight line. It's a story about resilience, about pivoting, and, well, this is the heartbreaking part, about finding peace right before the end.
So let's unpack this. We have to start at the beginning. Before he was Dawson Leery, he was just a kid in Cheshire, Connecticut. And there's this huge what-if moment right at the start of his life.
You're talking about the concussion.
The concussion.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy detail. He didn't even want to be an actor.
No, he was an athlete.
A football player.
Right. He's 13 years old, living for the field. And then he takes a hit, a serious concussion.
And the doctors sidelined him for an entire year.
Yeah.
No contact sports, nothing. Can you imagine being 13 and being told you have to just sit still for a year?
It's an eternity at that age, but this is the first example of what I think is the theme of his life, the pivot.
Yeah.
That no from the doctors turned into this massive yes for his future. Because he couldn't play football, he decided to try out for the school play.
And he didn't just get a small part. He landed the lead. Danny Zuko in Grease.
Which is a huge flex for a first-timer. But think about that sliding doors moment.
Oh, yeah.
If he doesn't get that concussion, we probably never know his name. That one injury completely redirected his entire life.
And once he caught the bug, he clearly had the hustle. One of the sources says he begged his mom to help him find an agent. He was landing professional stage work in New York while he was still a teen.
He was incredibly driven. He went to Drew University on an academic scholarship, so he was smart too, but he dropped out to pursue acting. And actually, speaking of his origins, there's a linguistic coincidence here that I just love.
Is this about his name? The translation?
It is Van Der Beek. It's Dutch.
Okay, what is it?
It literally translates to from the creek.
No way.
I know.
That is wild. He was literally destined for the role.
It's almost like he was born for it.
And that role, of course, was Dawson Leery in Dawson's Creek, 1998. And it's hard to explain how massive that show was. It wasn't just a hit.
It was a cultural phenomenon. It changed how teenagers were portrayed on TV. Before Dawson, teens were kind of goofy,
Like Saved by the Bell.
Right, or they were dealing with these very sanitized after-school special problems. Dawson Leery was different. He was a filmmaker, a Spielberg fanatic.
And he spoke like a 40-year-old therapist.
They all did. That was Kevin Williamson's style. But Dawson was the anchor. But, and here's where the show got legendary, Dawson wasn't actually the cool one.
Right, that was Pacey.
Exactly, and this is crucial. The show is built around Dawson, but the audience slowly fell in love with Pacey, the underdog. The writers had to pivot, there's that word again, and create this massive love triangle.
It saved the show's ratings.
It defined the whole genre. Every teen show since has been chasing that dynamic.
But we can't talk about Dawson's Creek without talking about the meme. You know the one.
The crying face.
The crying face.
Yeah.
It's arguably one of the first viral images of the modern internet.
It really is. It's from the season 3 finale. He's sobbing because he's losing Joey. It's this raw, ugly cry. And for a long time, that image was everywhere. People mocked it relentlessly.
Which has to be devastating for an actor. You pour your heart out, and it becomes a global joke.
It does. But this is where you see the measure of the man. James didn't run from it.
No, he spoofed it.
He did. That Funny or Die sketch, Vander memes. He leaned right into it. He showed everyone, I'm in on the joke.
That just shows such a lack of ego, doesn't it? To be able to laugh at yourself like that.
It shows a maturity that separates James Van Der Beek from Dawson Leery. Dawson took himself very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
James clearly could see the absurdity of it all.
Speaking of intensity, we have to mention Varsity Blues. This came out in '99, right at the peak of Creek Mania.
This was his big move to show he wasn't just the soft romantic lead. He played Johnny Moxon, a backup quarterback in Texas.
Which is some pretty wild foreshadowing for his later life.
It really is. But in the film, he's up against Jon Voight as this terrifying coach. And there's that iconic line.
I've been waiting to say it. I don't want your life.
There it is.
I tried. But why did that line land so hard?
Because it was a generational anthem. It was that moment of standing up to the father figure, to the boomer generation's expectations. It resonated just as much as Dawson's romantic pining, but in a totally different way.
So he nails the teen idol phase. But I think the real turning point, the moment where the industry saw him as a serious comedic talent, was Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23.
I completely agree. This was around 2012. And it's such a bold move. He played a fictionalized version of himself.
A version of himself who was vain, obsessed with his past, using his Dawson's Creek fame to cut lines at coffee shops.
It was brilliant. One source called it his best role, and I think I agree. It showed this sharp comedic timing. He wasn't the heartthrob anymore. He was a character actor who happened to look like a leading man.
He was deconstructing his own celebrity.
He was, and that evolution continued right up to the end. He had just been cast in Elle, the Legally Blonde prequel series.
Which is such a full circle moment. The show's set in the 90s, so he went from playing a high school kid in the 90s to playing the superintendent in a show about the 90s.
Apparently his daughters were thrilled about that one.
Gave him some cool dad points, I bet.
You need all you can get when you have as many kids as he did.
Okay, let's pivot to that personal side, because his life off-screen these last few years was arguably even more interesting than his filmography. He made a huge change. He moved his family from LA to Texas.
And this wasn't just, a trend move. It felt like a spiritual decision. He and his wife, Kimberly, had been through a really brutal year.
Right.
Multiple miscarriages, the death of his mother. They were grieving, and they felt stuck.
And they went to Austin, and there's this beautiful story about how they decided to stay. It involves a tree.
It does. They found this massive oak tree on a property. They sat under it and meditated and basically asked the land for permission. And Kimberly said the message she got was that the land offered healing.
That sounds very almost mystical. But they did it. They moved to a 36-acre estate in the hill country.
And they really embraced the lifestyle. This was about self-reliance. James Van Der Beek, the guy from teen dramas, was out there fixing fences.
And he was really into biohacking, right?
Deeply. Saunas, cold plunges, all of it. But also the practical stuff water conservation, keeping chickens. He wanted to teach his kids resilience.
And he had a full classroom for it.
He did. 6 children. Olivia, Joshua, Annabelle, Amelia, Gwendolyn, and Jeremiah. He just wanted to get them out of the LA bubble and connect with nature.
And by all accounts, he was doing everything right. He was fit, eating well, which makes the news of his illness so much more shocking.
It is terrifying, frankly. It shakes you. He was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer in 2023.
And for everyone listening, we need to pause on this because the details here are so important.
They really are. The most crucial thing to understand is that he had no warning signs.
None. No pain, no fatigue.
None. He felt healthy. He was in excellent cardiovascular shape. It was a silent progression until it was stage 3. And this is part of a wider trend we're seeing. Colorectal cancer rates are rising in people under 50.
That's so scary. But even then, he found a mission in it, right? He didn't retreat.
No, he didn't. He partnered with Guardant Health. He became an advocate for blood test screenings, specifically the Shield test. He wanted to use his diagnosis to save others.
That's a profound way to look at tragedy, to try and find, thank God, in a cancer diagnosis.
He was trying to turn tragedy into advocacy. He wanted to destigmatize the whole screening process because, let's face it, people don't like talking about it.
It's not comfortable. Awkward.
Exactly. But by sharing his story, by showing that even a healthy, fit guy can get this, he proved that vigilance is necessary for everyone. He stripped the shame away.
And sadly, that battle ended today. He passed away on the morning of February 11th, surrounded by his family.
Yeah.
The family released a statement, and there's a phrase in it that really got me. They said he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. But then they mentioned his love for the sacredness of time.
The sacredness of time.
It just stops you in your tracks.
It does. It suggests a man who, in his final years, really understood the value of every single moment. That phrase tells me James was present. He was there.
And his final social media post really drives that home. January 25th, it wasn't about his career, it wasn't about his illness.
No, it was a tribute to his daughter Annabelle and his father. They shared a birthday.
What did you say?
He wrote about their gentle hearts and their Aquarian creativity. He said they had a way of alchemizing the vibe around them.
Alchemizing the vibe. That's such a beautiful, specific way to describe someone.
It's a post just full of love and gratitude. It's heartbreaking to read now, but it's also beautiful because it shows exactly where his head and his heart were. He was focused on the people he loved.
And the reaction from his community, like the Dawson's Creek cast, reflects that love back. He said it was like high school friends. He just picked right back up.
It's clear he was beloved, just a good guy. In Hollywood, that's not always the norm.
So if we step back and look at the whole picture, the kid with the concussion, the global superstar, the meme, the rancher, what is the legacy here?
It's multifaceted. I mean, he'll always be Dawson Leery, the dreamer. That's unavoidable. But I think his real legacy is that of a man who transitioned from a character who overanalyzed everything to a man who learned to just be present.
He went from the guy who said, I don't want your life,
Yeah.
to a man who built exactly the life he wanted on his own terms on that ranch.
And in doing that, he became an advocate for vulnerability, whether it was laughing at himself or opening up about cancer to help strangers. He was honest. He dropped the mask.
So what does this all mean for us? I think the biggest takeaway, aside from honoring his work, is to listen to the message he was trying to spread at the end.
Absolutely. And I want to be very clear about this. If you're listening to this, take your health seriously. Colorectal cancer is treatable if you catch it early. Do not wait for a warning sign. Get screened. Do it in his honor.
And beyond that, I think we should take to heart that family statement about the sacredness of time.
We often think we have forever. We think we can wait until next year to reconnect with nature or move to the country. But time is the one resource we can't make more of.
James Van Der Beek lived a full life, even if it was cut short at 48. From the stage in New York, to the creek in Massachusetts, to the wide open skies of Texas, he left a mark.
He certainly did. A life of reinvention, humor, and ultimately profound grace.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's a sad day, but hopefully looking back at his journey brings a little bit of light. Take care of yourselves, hold your loved ones close, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.
And for a final thought to mull over, James's name meant from the creek, but he found his peace on a river in Texas. Maybe we should all ask ourselves, where is our sacred oak? Where is the place that tells us we can heal? Something to think about.